right, we are back with Cheryl Peterson. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us at ERE. For the folks who may not know you, tell us who you are and what you do best.
Okay, so I'm Cheryl Peterson, and I head up talent resourcing over at Arup, and we're an engineering firm. I've been doing this for probably 25 to 30 years across multiple different organizations, retail, hospitality, service. Got the bug for it way back when and just have not stopped doing it. Very passionate about it. I've been with Arup for 8 years. And I've now recently just started to move more into the candidate experience space as well, globally. We're integrating our HR function, so really excited to be here.
And I appreciate you for joining us. And I love having perspective of folks that have been in the industry for a while, because you've seen the changes when it comes to technology and trends and external factors. Actually, they're internal. If you look at the market, you look at politics, you talk about the economy. So when you take a step back from the 30,000-foot view, and people are out of work for such a long time, what kind of advice would you give them? Because you can't just say, don't worry, keep applying, things are going to be okay. But what practical advice would you give them, Cheryl?
Yeah, I would say it's starting with really understanding who you are, what you want, and stop trying to shape yourself to fit everybody else. And that sounds a little bit counterintuitive. But when you show up, whether it's an interview or you're sending over your resume or your cover letter, if you're trying to fit into that box that you think that they're looking for, you're going to lose sight of who you are. And then you don't add the value that you want to add. You're not going to stay there. You're going to see it just as a job. So I start with saying, map out what it is that you want, stick true to it. I'm a big believer, as hokey as it may sound, and like you put it out into the universe, you make that happen for yourself.
I'm with you on that. I'm a huge believer in manifesting.
Yeah. And so then you network, right? Yeah. But then you network with the right people, because then you start mapping it and you plan it, right? I tell people, don't just apply to any old job. If that job isn't the right job for you, then don't waste your time.
You have to be strategic. And it sounds so cliche, and I talk about, I'm an in the trenches recruiter and a career therapist. I can use therapist there. But the job search is going to be harder than any job you've ever had, especially if you're out of work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is true, the best time to look for a job is when you have a job, that's fair. And the best time to networking is now, is to start now. Networking is a tricky one, because there's folks that do it naturally well, and then there's folks that think it's just simply connecting with somebody on LinkedIn. But from networking from a job search perspective, it could seem a little bit one-sided on the value prop. I'm reaching out to you because guess what? I want a job.
Yeah.
How do you recommend the right way to connect from a networking perspective in the job search?
I think you said it earlier, it's about being strategic, and again, you can't plan enough. I tell people, finding a new job is your full-time new job, right? That's why I almost think it's weird, but when you have a job, it's harder, right? Because you have 2 jobs now. So the benefit to not being currently employed is that you have that space and time, but treat it like it. Get up in the morning at 6 a.m. like you would be going to work, right? Be organized, have your plan.
No, for real,
I'm totally with you.
But I didn't mean to put you up, but I say shower because that means you're mentally preparing.
Yeah, put the suit jacket on if you normally wear the suit jacket, right? Yeah, whatever you feel is
business
comfortable.
up top, pajamas on the bottom.
Exactly.
No one's looking.
But you have that plan, and so I think when it comes to networking, it's about looking and saying, okay, here's me, here's my sphere of influence, here's the people that I already know, what are the companies that I want to work at, who knows maybe somebody there? Because it's not just about going online and saying, oh, I want to go work at Google, or I want to go work here, who do I know? And just send them an email. So it is about using the networking and the individuals that you already know. I think that's really powerful.
100%.
When you don't feel like you have that, or you might not know, then I think it is really about going to different meetings and things, putting yourself in the spaces.
Networking events,
exactly.
events.
Where do those people congregate? Start thinking about where are they looking for talent. If it's a career fair, then you go to the career fair. But if it's not, and that's not where they're finding talent, then you have to go where put yourself in that pool.
The job hunt is frustrating. It's humbling.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something that I've noticed, and it crept on me quickly, is ageism in the workplace. And just to give you a reference, I'm 45, and I'm feeling it
55.
through my, but I'm feeling I'm feeling it through my friends.
Yeah.
I own my own business, so I'm insulated from that to some extent. But I see it out there. I have a lot of friends out of work, and they're like, "How all of a sudden did we become 45, and we're the old people now in the room?"
Yeah.
What advice do you give to folks out there who or more tenured in the career, longer in the tooth, to combat that? It's real.
It is real. And I don't know if I have the answer, because I think
just
about...
your thoughts, your thoughts.
I think about it myself too, because I'm lucky I'm employed right now. You go through transitions. If I were to get laid off, I'm 55 years old, female, back out in the workforce. And if there's not that VP job that I should be in based on my years of experience, and I say, I want to go do this job, someone's going to tell me I'm overqualified.
I love that. Actually, I hate that.
I'm going to hate it, but it's what they use.
But it's also because you mentioned that before. It's the top of the pyramid too, because as you go up, the opportunities are smaller at the top versus entry level roles in the beginning. So it's tough. So the advice that I give to folks out there is always be learning and upskilling. Expand your skill set. You have to stay on track with the trends. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind and you'll actually become a dinosaur.
Yeah.
And those are the people who don't think they're too comfortable in their roles.
Yeah.
And I think if we learned anything in the last 5 years, is that everyone's expendable.
Yeah.
Everyone's replaceable, and technology comes in. Do you fear in your organization, it's an engineering firm, do you see roles that were once filled by people now with computers?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, we have a focus on digital transformation. There's things where why would we do something and keep doing it and have to calculate something if it can be calculated digitally and then shared and replicated faster. So there's definitely that opportunity. But I think because we're in the consulting side of engineering and in recruiting in itself, you're a consultant and an advisor. It is, and I love that you said continue to upskill and don't just be that one-trick pony that knows how to do this one thing. I've prided myself and my team on really being utility players, and we made shifts to move into different types of roles than what you would think a recruiter could be in because of the value that we added and the skills that we learned.
Relationship folks.
We knew internal resourcing even though we weren't doing it. Yeah.
It's so interesting too, and I give a big kudos to companies out there. Unfortunately, when companies downsize, recruiters are the first to go.
Yeah.
Now, a smart company knows a couple of things about their recruiters. We know everything that's going on.
Oh, yeah.
We
have a lot of insight on the business. Yeah.
And a good recruiter is going to be a salesperson, going to be relationship driven.
Yep.
So why not help somebody shift into a sales role or an SDR or a customer success type of position?
Yeah.
Those companies are winning because you're reducing also the cost to hire.
Yeah.
You're shifting someone into a position because there is a cost for every external hire. Resource, time, if they're using external talent, if they're paying a premium over what somebody else in that role could be making. So let's shift and talk about the business side of recruiting in-house. And I talked about this ad nauseum. I love the role of the HRBP. I love that intermediary function of someone who is not just understands the people element, but also understands the business side. How do you take those best practices and how do you work with folks? What are your thoughts on integrating the business side more into what we do?
Yeah, so it's interesting. My session here on ERE was all about that, and it really is about being that strategic partner and not just seeing it as a recruitment problem, but a two-sided coin of recruitment and retention. We're not just bringing people into the organization. We need to make sure that they stay with the organization. And so much of what we're doing, if we can get on the front side of understanding what are the priorities for the company. So at Arup, as an example, if we're focusing on energy, if we're focusing on data centers, and I know that right now I'm going to the external market for that, I'm working with my leadership to say, 2 years from now, what do you think your hiring needs are? And what do staff need to do to upskill themselves to get ready for that? And let's not open up that requisition, perhaps. Let's move somebody in. Let's retain them, develop them, invest there versus investing on the recruitment side. So it's a balance, right? You can't swing it one way or the other.
How do you have those conversations with the decision hiring teams to identify folks on the team who have great potential, but maybe for something else?
Yeah, that's the hard part. In full transparency, it's a hard one to crack, right? Because you have, as being a hiring manager as well, if one of my recruiters left tomorrow and a junior staff member said, I want to be a recruiter, I'm like, oh, geez, I can't put you in front of the clients today. So I think it is about being thoughtful and, again, strategic, that within your teams, okay, we have this problem today, let's solve it. It might be external, but let's make a plan so that this doesn't happen again next time. And so what does that look like? And so it's succession planning and working with your business partners, right? On the recruitment side, we only go so far into the talent planning. We're looking for the gaps so that we can address them and proactively pipeline and things like that. But the business partners are the ones who are working more closely with the business to say, how are we developing people? How are we getting them ready? Yeah, so it's a partnership. You can't do it alone.
I think the key word there is partnership. And I think the organizations, listen, we're not far removed from when HR did hiring, and we have this modern function of TA where it's talent attraction, it's talent access. I removed the acquisition part of it. I don't like talent acquisition. I like talent attraction and talent access.
Yeah, I like that. We say talent resourcing in
I love that too.
Yeah.
From an access standpoint, we're giving access and connecting the opportunity with the talent there. How are you utilizing technology as an organization? We're going to talk about AI, we might as well. to make your job more effective, more efficient, and give you more of that human time in the process?
So for us, it's really about starting with the low-hanging fruit. That's the transaction parts of our job, and they were talking about it today, where there's just so much that we do that can be replaced with AI. But what I always say, and what we're trying to achieve at Arup, is we're trying to create that personal connection as well, and not lose sight of it. We're a humane organization. We want to create fulfilling careers. In order to do that, you need to understand the nuances and what people are looking for that might not be in the resume or might not be in things you can find on the web that you would get from AI.
You have to talk to them.
You have to talk to them, and you have to get through that.
Talk to people. Let's get back to talking to people.
So as much as I'm about AI, and we are moving in that direction, it's a balance. Automate your responses if you want to, but at the end of the day, if you're keeping a candidate warm for the future, you better have a relationship with them. And it shouldn't just be with text. It shouldn't just be spamming them, right? It's about actually having conversations.
So we just had James Ellis on before, or after, depending on when we sequence this podcast, talking about employer brand. What is your company uniquely known for from a employee perspective? Why do folks want to work there?
Yeah.
And how do you integrate that message and value prop into your outreach?
Yeah, so we look at ourselves as a collective, and so it's about that partnership, that collaboration. We're experts in what we do, different disciplines, whether it be electrical or mechanical, structural, data centers and energy and those types of things, but we look at it from a total perspective of how those teams come together. And so you're only as good as the teams that you're surrounding yourself with. And because we are a humane organization, people want to join our organization because of the people, but more importantly, it's the innovative projects that we do. So we've got some
innovation.
Really cool projects,
Some cutting edge.
Yeah.
What is keeping you up at night as a people leader?
Keeping me up at night, I think it really is the balance of the skills that are out there that we might need for the future, and the demand and how much it costs to get them, and how do you manage that balanced with, you have to invest one way or the other, right? And how are we shifting that investment is moving to developing and retaining our people and not relying so much on going out to the market. Now, based on what you said earlier, you still have to go to the market, but I'm looking for people with competencies and skills, not a resume and experience, which allows me to hire people who are those utility players, who have the ability, who have maybe transcended beyond their job title, could be 45 years old and feeling like they're done and they want to try something new. Let me hear your skills. It's with the military as well, right? Military are great individuals to bring into your organization, but you have to translate their background and experience into skills and competencies that can then be parlayed into anything, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
And leave us with some positivity here. What is one of those things that you're seeing in this downturn economy? So many folks are out of work. What's putting a smile on your face at work?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, what I'm seeing from people is that as a humane organization, and then looking at the talent that we're bringing in, people want to help other people. And so what I'm seeing is that when we're talking to one person and they're not a good fit for our company, they're recommending somebody else. And I love that. Absolutely. If it's not for you, I will send somebody over to somebody else's company, right? I think that's that talent access. I don't hoard my talent. If I find someone that's really good and I have a network and I can help them, I'm loving seeing that more people are doing that, right? They know how hard it is. We've all experienced it at some time. And so I think it's important not to forget that.
It's all about helping each other, paying it forward, and doing the right thing. Cheryl, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Where could folks find you? Where could they connect? Where could they learn more?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me there, CK Peterson. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.